Hey guys, how's it going? So we have a lot of news to go over this week. With regarding Ethereum. There, basically the things I'll be going over tonight is I talked a little bit about it earlier this week as far as the gas limit going up from 12.5 million to 15 million per block. And there is a lot of concern, evidently, amongst the core devs. And they actually answered some of my questions by their discussion. We'll go into that first. Then I'll talk a little bit about the shy gas tokens. That's the 1-inch gas token. It's done as a storage of gas. I'll go over a little bit about what that's about, what's been going on, and in my opinion, why it's not a big concern because it's going to go away anyway. And then talk about 1559 timing, the merge, and the all core devs call that's coming up tomorrow morning. Believe it's either at 8 or 9 o'clock Central Time. Anyway, so let's start with first of all, give me something in the live chat if you can hear me. Haven't seen anything come up yet. Okay, cool. Alrighty, thanks guys, appreciate that. I was watching on a different screen that I thought, yeah, well, this is weird. On this screen, the live chat's not coming up. Very strange. Okay, well, I'll just switch over to this other one so I can see the chat. So, okay, so the first thing, the gas limit was raised from 12.5 million to 15 million per block, increasing the supply for transactions. So this is something that really has been asked for a long period of time. And you've heard people talk about layer 2 solutions. That's what that's being done for. That's being done to increase the supply of transactions so that people can get more transactions through while paying a lower fee. So overall, this seems like this would be a good thing. I was like, okay, cool. This is unfortunate for miners, but a good thing overall for Ethereum. That was my thought. Now, with a conversation that was going on tonight, it was pretty interesting. So Micah, let's just say, to keep it clean, he does not hold back. He will sometimes be a little subtle, but he gets his point across. So let me switch over to this Discord channel. I watch their Discord server because it can have a lot of very, very interesting conversations, and they, shall we say, air their dirty laundry right out in the open. They do it in a nice way, but at the same time, you get the message. So hang on, let me change the scene here. Here we go. Okay, so there was a lot of discussion about this as far as who did what. So what was said and what was clear was that the miners do have the ability, I found out from this discussion, have the ability to raise the gas limit, but are basically kind of kept in line saying don't do this type of thing. So what happened was Vitalik came out on Twitter saying, yeah, we can raise the gas limit. I think that's a great idea. And so the mining pools went, okay. So I'll quote directly from Micah. You are correct. I don't think the miners are being malicious, meaning malicious about actually I should go up to what Piper said first. But this isn't the miners doing bad things problem. This is some core devs, some core devs, and the main one being Vitalik, signaling that the level is okay, meaning that the increase is okay. You and maybe others disagreeing. So then Micah responds, you are correct. I don't think this is the miners being malicious. However, that doesn't mean I agree with the statement of yours. In this case, I think gas limits are being set irresponsibly by miners, but because they are just listening to certain voices on Twitter, not because they are being malicious. This isn't to say I agree with the proposed solutions of a token vote. They're talking about some sort of token vote that I wasn't able to kind of figure out here. I don't know how this is necessarily related to the gas limit. But anyway, I'm still learning, but I just found it very, very interesting that they are definitely having a disagreement of whether or not this is a good thing, having the gas limit go up to 15 million. I did actually do some analysis to see, well, was this increasing the block times? I didn't see any increase in the block times. It does sound like through some other readings that there are some errors, but the mechanisms in place are keeping things under control, but not, these are things that shouldn't happen. But like I said, the mechanisms are keeping it under control, but they don't want the mechanisms to be in place or have to execute in order to make sure things are under control. So this increase, excuse me, I got allergies, so let me rub on my nose a bit. So yeah, it's basically what they're saying is it's not a good thing. So it'll be interesting to see if the gas limit increase actually gets reined back in. The other thing is, I don't know how this will affect 1559 because all of the documentation I saw still had the gas limit at 12.5 million. And with it going up to 15 million, does that mean 1559 is going to go from, the 1559 as it was written was 12.5 million with a max block size of 25 million. It's a variable block size. Well, with this change, does that mean it's going to go from 15 to 30 million with the average block size being 15? Or is the average block size going to go back down to 12.5 million when 1559 comes in, meaning that there's going to be more fees burned and more ETH burned? So anyway, let me check on the chat, see if there's any questions before I move on to the next subject. Okay, so no questions yet. So anyway, so I'm really curious to see if this topic comes up on the All Core Devs call tomorrow. I'm probably gonna have to listen to a replay because I got some things going on tomorrow, but I will be very curious if this comes up at the end of the call. So anyway, something to keep an eye on for anybody that might be listening to it or listening to the replay of it. The other thing that came up this week was the Shy gas tokens. One way, I'm not completely up to speed on this. Shy gas, any type of gas token is basically it's a smart contract that, well, the Shy token, I don't think is necessarily done through a smart contract. There's other gas tokens that are done through smart contracts. So basically the concept of it is that you buy tokens for gas. It's like buying a gift certificate for gas, but you're buying it at a lower price and then executing it when gas prices go up. Or you can think of it as going to the gas station and I'm going to fill up my extra tank and store it at my house so that when gas prices go up, I'll just pull from that instead. So it's a great way of like, we all know Sundays, typically the gas prices are down. Well, it'd be great if you executed these contracts on Sunday so that during the week you were able to execute your transactions at a lower gas fee by using those tokens that you have bought at a lower rate. So that's the concept of what gas tokens are. What Spark Pool and F2 Pool were doing is that they were mining for these tokens at zero cost in gas. And so basically they had some flat 2 block reward blocks, and they were just mining all these Shy tokens because it was more profitable for them to mine those gas tokens than it was for them to mine or to put into the blocks the regular transactions because the gas fees were so low. So as they always talk about, it's game theory. If the miners have the ability to do things that are more profitable, they will do those things, which the ETH Core devs have not had a problem with. They're like, this is just human nature, game theory, this is the way it works. So the problem and where the controversy was whether or not F2 Pool and um, Spark Pool were actually paying out those revenues to the miners, and that I have not seen anybody that came out and said whether or not that was being done. Because regardless, anybody who's in those mining pools, F2 Pool and Spark Pool, were able to gain that profit on the backs of the miners. So this is really no different than MEV, because MEV had been around for a while but wasn't getting paid out to miners. This is just another form of profit where mining pools may be keeping it for themselves. Now, why I said this wasn't a big deal is because the only reason why they're able to do that, it's no different than a payout to miners. A lot of the pools will pay out to the miners in their own blocks so that they don't have to pay a high transaction fee in order to do it. It's in their own block. This is theirs. Therefore, they can put these transactions at no cost to them in their own block. Leading to, that's why you might see Ethermine or some of these other ones that have lower block utilization than some others that don't do it that way. So anyway, the thing is with 1559, the pools can no longer do that. They have to pay the base fee. Everybody has to pay the base fee. There's no getting around that. If they're mining their own block, they still have to pay that base fee. Now, they don't have to pay the inclusion fee, which used to be called the miner tip. Now it's called the inclusion fee. So they won't have to pay that, but still, they'll still have to pay that base fee. So regardless of how you look at this, this is a short-term thing. It'll end when 1559 comes out in July or August. Let me check back to see if there's any questions. Am I losing anybody in all this? I know this is complicated and I'm still not like the best, most up-to-date person on this. I'm just basically communicating what I've learned. Yeah, I'm wearing the hat just for you, Chump Change. Get me one of your hats, darn it. Will there be a live video of the convo tomorrow? Are you saying, will I be doing a review of the ACD call tomorrow? Probably not tomorrow, maybe Saturday, possibly. But like I said, I got some things going on tomorrow, so I probably won't have a chance to actually watch the video as well as, or watch the call as well as do a wrap up. As far as if you're mentioning like the live stream I did earlier today that I doxed myself on, so I made it private. I'm still waiting for YouTube to finish processing it so that I can edit the video and blur some things out and such. So, or just do a simple cut. So at any rate, that should come up tomorrow and it should be a real quick fix. And then I got to wait for it to process again and then it will be made live. But, and that was about EVGA and their elite program, along with the 24-hour exclusive for elite members for their queue system. So we're not going to have another queue issue for a while, so a little delay in that one isn't the end of the world. So okay, let's go on to the next thing. So again, we started talking a little bit about 1559, so let me go into that topic. So 1559, last Friday there was an all core devs interim call, which I found really interesting because the week before, Micah was basically saying, guys, we're not getting enough stuff done. We keep saying that we should be doing stuff outside of these calls, but yet it always seems like we come to this call with less done than we should. So we need to start having weekly calls. Tim said, no, but yet he had an interim call anyway. So people don't necessarily like to agree with Micah, but usually they realize he's right. So anyway, we had the call last Friday and they were talking about the timing of 1559. And so they're still shooting for mid-July. There were some people that were pushing to actually move it up to the beginning of July. There's definitely a lot of people that believe that that can happen, but there's still that would mean that they would have to start their test net in like a week and a half, no more than 2 weeks in order to do that. Because right now they're looking at mid-May for the start of the test nets in order to make that mid-July. So yeah, so really mid-July is looking like the most realistic time, and that is the time that they really, really, really want to hit. Now, he did mention during that call that they could postpone London until mid-August, up until mid-August. And yes, the difficulty bomb would go off, but it would only increase block times by about 8 or 9%, which, according to Tim, he doesn't feel like would be that great of it wouldn't be the end of the world. Let's put it that way. Wouldn't be ideal, but wouldn't be the end of the world. But anything beyond that, they would need to do an emergency fork just to delay the difficulty bomb. So I think it's a little bit too early to tell whether or not there's going to be a delay or not. But right now, the attitude is they definitely think they can make it. Things are moving along. They'll run into issues along the way. That's normal development. But people seemed very positive about where they were in the process. And that hasn't always been the case in the past. So if I had to put bets on whether or not it was going to be, say, end of July or mid-July to end of July, I would bet no later than the end of July. I think London's going to happen. But obviously things can change. We all know that with the devs. So beyond that, so let's go into the merge. So let's first of all define what the merge is, because I see a lot of talk where terms are being used interchangeably and it confuses things a bit. So the merge is the quick merge. And what that means is it's proof of stake and nothing else. It is not ETH 2.0. ETH 2.0 includes sharding, which is what will increase the supply. It's Ethereum's version of layer 2 solution. So you have a main chain and then you have sub chains. So instead of just having a main chain with everything going on the main chain, you have sub chains to increase the capacity. So that is the full ETH 2.0. So in order for them to transition from proof of work to proof of stake, they basically have slimmed down all the features of their full ETH 2.0 rollout, including when they go to proof of stake, people who have staked their Ethereum still won't be able to get their money out. They will not be able to pull their money out. That's not part of the merge. It will be something beyond that. That'll probably be one of their primary things to do after the move to proof of stake or the quick merge. So that there was a lot of discussion on one of the forums where one of the miners was basically trying to push the developers and Tim to give an answer, and as far as when, and they're just basically like, it's too early to tell. One of the key things that that Micah had said, and this was actually on the previous in the call last Friday, he said we're lacking information to set a timeline. So there's still things that need to be answered with the merge. They haven't figured everything out. They're much further along than they were, but if they had all the information, then maybe they would be able to figure it out, but they don't. So the person was really pushing, and basically the idea is it's all pretty much a guess at this point, or an educated guess. So Tim put some numbers on it and said, there's a definite possibility we could see a move to proof of stake by the end of 2021. It's possible. If there were any type of attacks or anything like that, yes, that would almost be a guarantee they would rush a proof of stake quick merge out there. But nobody wants to rush it. They would rather make sure that everything is done right, especially with the problems that happened with Berlin. There were definitely some problems with Berlin. They got it resolved, but and I'm not like, and I don't want to go over that because I haven't done my research on that. But there was definitely some things that happened the day within like 6 hours after the actual Berlin fork. There were some major issues with one or two of the clients. So anyway, not here to talk about that, but because of those problems, they're a little bit, shall we say, a little bit more cautious to make sure with something as big as proof of stake that doesn't happen. So they would ideally, while they do want to move to it very quickly, ideally they want to make sure that they get it right. So possible by the end of 2021, more likely first quarter. And that honestly is what Tim had said about 2 or 3 months ago. I really believe that the time frame for the quick merge is going to be March of 2022 or somewhere in the first quarter 2022. So there's a couple other things that come into play with that as well. There's the Shanghai feature fork that is also going to be worked on in parallel with the merge. So they're working on both of those projects in parallel. It's possible the merge could come before Shanghai, as Vitalik, I think, has wild dreams that he can get this out much quicker. I think the people that are actually developing it are realizing that no, this isn't going to happen that quickly. But no work pretty much happens between Thanksgiving and New Year's. So December is pretty much out. So it either happens by the end of November or it happens in 2022. So with all that said, today there was a call about the merge. And let's just say that people were really, really happy with the progress. They're starting a DevNet. It's not a test net, but it's a DevNet, developing test network, to start really kind of hammering out things and trying to see what works, what doesn't, that type of thing. So, obviously we don't know if any gotchas are going to come up, and this is brand new for Ethereum. So it'll be interesting to see what the progress will be like. But I did find it very interesting that today that they were extremely happy. And I don't know if you ever heard some of these calls. It's sometimes hard to tell if people are extremely happy on these calls. I had to laugh when somebody's like, wow, that's great. Oh, I'm so excited. Like, just like that. I felt like I was watching the Saturday Night Live skit with sweaty balls. So anyway, it was just really, really funny. Anyway, so that's all I pretty much had to go over. Let me see if I've got any questions from people. But again, a lot happening this week. It is chump change. It's sharding with a D. Just so you know. And yeah, that joke gets used a lot. Anyways, let me scroll up here and see if anybody has asked any questions. Okay, I'm up to the damn hat, so I think I can start going now. I think somebody else answered the Avengers 34. Can you mine directly to your Ledger hardware wallet? I don't have a Ledger hardware wallet, but as I understand it, yeah, that should not be a problem. Are you sure, Chump Change? You might want to check with the other founders to make sure it's okay if I join. Anyway, I'll never let you live that one down. I'm just kidding. Anyway, let's see. Any other questions here? Covered that. Really? You had to say it twice? All right. So Crypto Bedell says a month or so ago, the devs were pushing everything forward and sooner than most expected. I feel you and BBT said they will miss most goals, and now I'm hearing of problems and delays in future/soon updates to ETH. Okay, so I am definitely not. I'm saying it's business as usual. And I don't mean as usual as in Ethereum usual. I'm saying I think it sounds better than what they've done in the past. They seem a little bit more organized. Um, Honestly, in my opinion, I think if Micah was at the helm, I liked him, and he does a good job of try. Micah might make too many people mad, so maybe he's better kind of being, Tim's number one, I guess, because he can say the things that Tim can't say, and then Tim can go along with them. Maybe that's it, or appear that he doesn't agree with them, but yet in the background, then try to make things go that way. Micah just seems to be the voice of reason, in my opinion. He says what everybody else is thinking or should be thinking, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that because he came on a BBT show or anything like that. I've talked to both of them in DMs at length, and so I like them both. They both have been extremely helpful in providing information. Uh, but when I see them operate and hear them in the All Core Devs call and on other calls, um, Micah, like I said, Micah doesn't mince words. He says what needs to be said in a much more concise fashion and doesn't have to worry about hurting people's feelings. Um, yeah, he's still professional about it. He doesn't, not a jerk about it, but he definitely doesn't mince words and is very, very, very direct. That's one of the things I really like about him, is that when he was talking to me about some things, he said some things that were somewhat shocking, and were very direct, and I appreciated that, because those were the things that needed to be said. And so instead of taking 3 paragraphs to say it, he was able to very concisely say some things. So um, anyway, I think that honestly, Ethereum is in a good place from a development standpoint. Obviously, time will tell. Right now, they're just done Berlin, and they haven't even gotten into testnet for 1559. So there's no way to know for sure, other than people's words, as to exactly where they are. So time, when they start getting into testnet, I think that will be much more telling. The other thing to keep in mind also is they've done tons of testing on 1559. This has been in the works for a very, very long time. I honestly think that London will go smoothly and on time, just because of how much work has been done about this. Think of it this way. There was, in December, that was when they started trying to get the public relations going. And the public relations of everything slowed things down a bit, but the development was all working in the background. And a lot of the testing and the development testing was all going on in the background. And yes, they had some problems when they were doing it, but they were also solving problems as they were going through it as well. So yeah, I truly believe that this will probably be one of the smoother rollouts of a fork. Certainly not taking as long as Berlin did. Berlin took forever and wasn't managed very well. And the fact that they took out an EIP within like less than 4 weeks before it, and there was a lot of bad feelings around that. So they learned a lot with Berlin, and I think that will also do a lot to help them along with it. All right, let me get back to see if there were any additional questions. Uh, yeah, sharding won't go live at least until second half of 2022. It might even be closer to 2023. Might not even be a priority if layer 2 solutions from other coins come into place. So that'll be kind of interesting to see. But one of the reasons why the sharding has been delayed is because they don't see it as high of a need, because of all of the layer 2 solutions that seem to be right around the corner. Some of them are being implemented as we speak. Let's see. Oh my God, how many more people are going to talk about sharding? I don't think I'll ever say that word again on a stream. But hey, at least you spelled it right that time. Oh, I see. You were saying, sharding is in, that's the way to spell it. Yes. Uh, all right. let's see. I think that is everything. So I didn't already went 30 minutes. Didn't want to necessarily go that long, but anyway, definitely encourage people if you can't watch it because you're at work. Definitely want to encourage people to listen in on the All Core Devs call if you're interested in this type of stuff at all. It can be very dry at times, so don't be afraid to click forward like 30 seconds if you think that, oh, this is something I'm not interested in, and just click ahead 30 seconds. And if you realize they're talking about something that you may have missed something, then just click back. But most of the time when you click forward 30 seconds, yeah. So generally at the very beginning of the call, there's some important things. They'll talk about some things that aren't necessarily part of the agenda at the very beginning. Then they'll talk through the agenda. In fact, let me bring up the agenda for the call. Where did I put it? Oh, and I forgot to talk about that. I got one more thing to talk about. But where did I? Oh, it's just behind this. That's why. So here it is. It's at 1400 UTC, which I believe is 9 o'clock Central Daylight Time, or 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. And they're going to talk about a number of EIPs that they're somewhat interesting, but not really having a huge effect. There's definitely a lot of discussion about gas tokens and how they're being operated and the cost of doing them, and a lot of things that don't affect us as miners, but are important for the health of the Ethereum network. The elude status and next steps, I believe that is a test network of some sort, but I'm not sure. Then they're going to talk about block numbers for London. They're going to try to commit to a block number, so that way everybody kind of knows when it's coming. And then this is more of interacting with through I forget what it's JavaScript. I forget what the ON stands for, but it's interacting with scripts interacting with the Ethereum blockchain, with 1559, with the new fee structure and such. So there's some changes going on there. So they're going to be talking about a readiness breakout room, but that this is what's going to be talked about. So anyway, so some very, in my opinion, boring things in the middle of the call. So I think at the beginning of the call will be interesting, and then once they get to the other discussion items, I think that's where things might get a little bit interesting. And again, maybe they won't bring up the gas limit, but I would be very surprised if they do not bring up the gas limit on this call. Be great if they went back to 12.5 million, at least for us, for the time being. It would definitely raise. I mean, as we speak, gas prices are at 37. So, which probably means that blocks are running around 2.6 total reward, maybe 2.7. So, yeah. So yeah, profitability is definitely way down since they raised it. Oh, so one last thing, which I know people have heard about, is, yeah, I guess I'm going to kind of have to eat my words, because I really didn't think this was going to happen. I thought it was a lot of brouhaha and people talking in rumor. In other words, people talking, not necessarily even in rumor, but saying, I think this is what NVIDIA is going to do, as opposed to saying, I have a leak from somebody at NVIDIA saying this is what they're going to do. This is the first time that we have heard that, at least that I've heard, that NVIDIA is actually going to implement the hash rate limiter, not just on the 3080 Ti and the 3070 Ti, but on new releases of the 3060, the 3070, and the 3080. They are not evidently going to be releasing the hash rate limiter on the 3090 because, as they put it, it's not very profitable to mine using a 3090. That's what the rumors have been, and evidently it's been verified through not just one, but a couple of AIB partners. So this definitely leads me to believe that this is absolutely real. Their estimate is that AIB partners would start receiving these chips in mid-May, and the market would start seeing these no earlier than mid-June. So if you're planning on getting 3,000 series cards, yeah, try to get them in May if you can, or the first part of June, because after that, who knows what you're getting? Because there is no indication on these units as to which ones will have the hash rate limiter and which ones won't. So, and good to know if you were planning on buying either the 3080 Ti or the 3070 Ti, that that you know that you may be getting a crippled card. So, at any rate, so that's what I have for tonight. Again, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, 56, NVIDIA leaked the rumors. Yeah, they said the AIB partners did, but I think NVIDIA told the AIB partners, yeah, leak this. We want people to know. So, lawsuit incoming. Well, I would find that very interesting if that happened. I'm not sure what I haven't looked into that to say, how that would even come into being, what could they sue them for? But at any rate, it'll be interesting. So again, thanks for everybody for showing up. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys around. I'll be on, I guess I'll be on the stream for Misfit Mining on Saturday night, as long as Chump changes, as long as his invite holds. So anyway, alrighty, guys, have a good one.